live from our studios in Tucson, Arizona. For the millions of fans listening around the world, from Long Realty with John Smith and Matt Bollinger, let's get ready to talk real estate. Good afternoon and welcome to Real Estate Rumble. My name is John Smith and I'm here with my tag team partner off the top rope. You know, I was going to come in today and I was going to have Ric Flair music and go, woo! But unfortunately, I was not prepared. So you need to come up with something by saying hello other than hello. So say hello, Matt.
Hello.
Oh, man. Hey, we're also joined by two of our teammates. One of them used to be an ex-cop, so if you've ever been to juvie, he probably did the strip search on you. And then there's Kelly, who does specialization on horse property. So, Kelly, say hello.
Hello.
Go ahead, sir. Steve?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So today we're going to have a special guest kind of just to ask us questions today to kind of get to know a little bit about real estate. Meanwhile, how's things? How's the family?
Everything's good. It's groovy.
Okay. And Kelly, if you don't know, you're a horse specialist, right? A horse property specialist?
I'd like to think so. Things change all the time, but I'd like to think so.
Yeah. What makes you a horse specialist?
Well, I won't say I'm a horse specialist.
Well, a horse property specialist.
Well, I'd like to think I'm very aware of what's needed for horse property.
So like
and for horse
water?
people. Yeah, of course.
Okay. So,
But there's different types of horse people. See, you got your hobby horse people and you got your professional horse people. So it depends. And I understand both sides of it. You got somebody who has their own personal horses and they need smaller horse property.
hey, I don't mean to cut off a horse person about horse people, but let me tell you, there's some crazy trainers out there
There is.
and they're demanding.
Yes.
And they have a passion for your horse. So if you
Correct.
screw up their property, what?
Then you're in trouble.
So you got to know what you're doing.
You got to have an ear of what they need. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, Steve, I'm not pointing out your age here, but I would consider you a senior specialist.
Yeah, but no accusations or anything like that. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah,
And old people hate me.
old people hang together.
So we're here today, and what we've done is we've received fan mail, believe it or not, and they came up with a list of questions that they wanted us to answer. So we've got somebody that's going to ask us questions off camera, and then we're going to respond to them as a group. You ready? We'll do it. Give us the first one. Hit us hard.
What's it like being a realtor?
Imagine putting your worst job in a blender and staying up for 7 days straight and hope you got paid. Steve, what's it like being a realtor, a new realtor?
Lots to learn, and you're certainly dealing with people from all walks of life, and they're different personalities. You've got to learn to deal with that.
So, as your previous profession, did that come into play here at all?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
In what way?
You learn to read people, watch them, and listen to what they're saying.
So it's kind of the same thing, right? Except
Exactly.
you don't have to put them in handcuffs and shove them into a police car.
True.
Okay. How about you, Kelly? Day in the life realtor? What do you think?
Challenging
Why?
because you're learning something new every day.
Well, give me an example.
Meeting new people that you normally don't meet, that challenges your social, I will say social status, but people that you technically don't choose to talk to on your social level.
Right.
So it challenges who you talk to and who you choose to talk to. And yeah.
So, Matt Bollinger, what's the toughest part for you? Just saying enough words that somebody can get through a conversation?
Yes. No, I think that I mean, I agree with everybody on that it's a challenge of different personalities.
Yes.
And you kind of have to be able to morph into whatever, somebody needs from you in order to accomplish their goals.
Well, listen, the personality aspect of it is huge, right? And I've said it 1,000 times. It seems like people that are of seasoned aged really just don't want to deal with me. And they walk in and Kelly and I could be in the same.
Why are you stuck on that?
Because it's like makes me feel bad. Walks in, if Kelly and I are standing
You
in
have
an
a
open
bad
house,
relationship with
any
grandma?
person over 60 will go to Kelly and they'll ignore me. They will. I guarantee every time.
Well, I think you have to learn how to pull the plug on your energy or bring your energy down to their level. And that's sometimes hard to do.
I have one level.
It is full speed ahead.
Right. And I do think, I think I agree with her 100%. I think it is how I come off, right? In your face, kind of commenting. And a lot of people, that's too much for some people, right? They're looking for that kind of slick back guy. Now, there are people that would prefer that kind of person to be their agent, right? They would prefer that in your face, I'm going to grind it out. I'm coming after you. I'm a barracuda. But there's also the aspect of slowing your roll.
Right.
Would you say your roll slow a little bit more, Kelly, than mine?
I had to learn to slow my roll, though, because I was a bartender for 12, 13 years where my roll was very, very, very high.
Right.
And then I had to change roles when I started working in I worked for banks for several years, and so I had to slow that roll down and started talking on a different level. So it was an easy transition. So I'm able to talk on that level and then bring my roll down.
Right. Could you imagine being a bank teller? Here's 20, 30. Here's your damn money. Go. Okay. So, all right. Question number. Did you have something to add, Steve?
Well, I was just going to say, I think you have to meet people at their own energy level. You know, you kind of,
Yeah.
if they're up high, you need to be bringing your energy level up, or vice versa.
I agree with that.
I think
you have
Steve
to
can-
meet them where they are, not force them to be where you are.
I think
that's
Steve
what
can
it
talk
is.
to people on a different maturity level, too.
Wonder why.
I don't know. My wife says I'm immature.
All right. Give us another question.
What does your average day look like?
What is our average day?
I don't think there
don't have
is an
one.
average day.
No.
I think it changes so much because you're working with so many different people that no day is the same as the next.
I can agree with that.
I have a wish list of what I want my average day to be like.
Right.
You know, wake up at 10, 6 listings by 1, come home by 2, close on the other 3 in the middle of the night. Right? But is
Fair
that
enough.
a reality?
No.
No, that's not a reality, right? There is no way for that to be. You have to, in this business, you have to grind every day, every single day. And if you don't grind every single day, you're not going to have an inch of success.
No. You have to be available. You have to answer your phone. That
7
is-
days a week. There is no breaks.
No breaks.
Okay. And for everybody out there who's like, oh, you got the easiest job in the world. This is not the easiest job in the world. What do you think, Kelly?
No, it's not the easiest job in the world. In fact, I think this is the hardest job. I won't even say it's the hardest job. It's the most challenging job because it's only as successful as you make it.
Steve, got anything to add to Kelly's wisdom?
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, you get out of it what you put in.
Correct.
If you work hard, then you'll see success. And if you don't,
Show up, put the time in,
Exactly.
answer your
It's
phone.
not going to fall in your lap. That's
It's not
for sure.
Yeah.
terribly complicated, but it is something that other people don't do.
I
They
mean,
don't.
okay, your neighbor dies. House is empty. Are you guaranteed that listing?
No.
No. Okay, why not? Because your neighbor may know you, but the relatives may not. Okay? So your job is to make sure that you're front and present of everybody that's in your surrounding. Not only your sphere, but one step beyond that, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
So that's the difficult part, because even in bad times, like when somebody passes, sooner or later someone's going to have to make that decision to sell their house. Do you be an ambulance chaser and chase that ambulance, or do you just kind of put yourself in the right position at the right time? Steve?
I think there's a fine line there. You need to let them know that you're interested and
You're available to help.
you're available to help. But I don't think you want to push too hard. You don't want to be that ghoul that's hanging around like.
Oh, there's plenty of those ghouls out there, right? They're
Yeah.
just knocking on the door as the morgue truck rolls away.
Right.
Yeah, terrible way to be there. We don't want to build a business like that.
That's building a pipeline prior to. That's being proactive and building a relationship prior to that happening.
So you should be like Anna Nicole Smith and look for the age-appropriate people when they're on the teeter.
No.
And then go hand cards out
For
and then
the
visit them and go
love
bring them
of
some flowers or
everything
something. And what I would do is
holy.
put
No.
a sticker inside their
about
cabinet with
this?
my name on it. This is my realtor. Call them. No?
How about this? I know my
I
neighbor.
wouldn't go that route. no.
In other
I'm
words-
going to know my neighbor. I'm going to know, Charlie, Sam, and Dorothy next door, and they're going to know me, and they're going to know, their family's going to know that I'm a real estate agent, and they're going to know me on a different level.
which is building relationships.
Correct.
Is really
It's about
how you should build your
relationships.
business, don't
Yes.
you? Not chasing ambulances.
Absolutely.
or
What
catching people on the teeter.
Well,
I was gonna say-
I don't know. Do they put obituaries in the newspaper anymore?
I don't.
I'm sure they do,
think
yeah.
on Sundays they do. But my question is, so do you just
How
always
did we
walk
start
around
this
and-
terrible conversation?
know,
Do
but
you
is
walk
that a
around and
thing?
ask, "How's your health today, neighbor?"
How you
That
do
has
it?
been a lead gen I have not
So far-
tried, and I'd like to know if somebody has done that.
So
'cause
far,
I have
John's
not.
gone from older people don't like him, and let's talk about death.
Well, let me give a shout out to my dad who happens to be in the hospital.
That's
He
it.
does listen to our podcast. He's at TMC, currently suffering from a heart attack and recovering. So
Prayers
this is
to your
shout-
pops.
Prayers to my pops. We have to at least mention that.
Do you remember what your first year in real estate was like?
Man, it's been 20 years. I don't even know how many houses we closed. I came in working for somebody else to learn the business. So it's a little different, I think, for everybody, but I was helping out another agent, and that's kind of how I learned the ropes of the business. So I can't remember how many I sold, but
just describe what it was like, maybe what value you brought to the table.
I don't think, honestly, in the first year that there was a whole lot of value that I could bring, but I connected with somebody that was very seasoned in the business and really, really good at it, had a lot of connections. And to be honest with you, for the first year, I just listened to how she did business and kind of picked the things that I thought were the most successful and could kind of transition into the way that I would do my business. So that's my experience in it.
To be fair to Steve as well, help him out here. He's just breaking back in the business after being out of it for a couple decades.
Yeah, and I'm doing exactly what Matt was saying. I'm just trying to be like a sponge and absorb everything I can and learn everything I can.
Kelly?
I can share my story. And John, if you don't mind, when I broke into real estate, I left real estate school knowing absolutely nothing. I knew how to pass the test. And it was like a gajillion puzzle pieces floating in the air, but I didn't know anything. And John, we were at a brokerage together, and he was holding a contract writing class, and that's the first time the pieces started coming together. And John, you left me there at the brokerage. He left me
and now
there.
you're here, so it's all good.
And I know. And then, but I joined another team, and I started, like you said, Matt, I started listening, and I found a mentor and started working under a different team, and the pieces started falling together. And it's still a lot of learning, and that's why I'm here. I'm still learning. I'm learning a different area of real estate, and it's continuous learning.
But didn't you get, with your first year at Long, didn't you win an award?
I did.
The
What was
Rising
that?
Star Award?
It was the Rising Star Award because, I came in as a solo agent. I had left a team there, and I came in as a solo agent. But I enjoy being in a team type atmosphere, and I feel like I learned the best as a team. I learned from my teammates, and I'm in a commercial type situation. I'm learning now, and I love to learn. That's where I'm at now. So I feel like I'm a new agent again, because I'm in a different field.
So my journey kind of took the same road, right? I came in and I got picked up by a team, which was the most amazing thing for me because that team leader now, even though I left the team, is now my mentor, whether she likes it or not. We sit down, we hash things out. She's real with me when I need her to be real with me. She's just a straight shooter, okay? And so I get to brag a little bit because I believe it was 22 houses I sold in my first year, okay? But I paid for my education because I had to pay to be on a team. But it put me so far ahead of most agents that I've known that's been in the business. It put me in a position to see a lot of real estate. And the more real estate that I saw, the more I retained and the more I was able to kind of regurgitate, even if it was back to clients. Now, as far as my first client, well, we've had Dustin in here, and Dustin and I both just got through the first transaction together. And the nice thing about Dustin is he continues to refer me all throughout because
for the last 8 years.
Last 8 years. And I was just honest. Listen, this is my first deal. Would you be willing to work with me? He said, absolutely. And if I didn't know the answer, he let me find the answer and bring it to him. So that first year is really important, right? Yeah. And I think they say if you make it past the third year, you have a fighting chance to make it. Okay. And it all depends on, and what I like about this business is it all depends on me. If I don't get my tail out of bed and I don't get myself moving in the morning, someone else is going to pick up the phone. They're going to call somebody else if they forget about me. And I don't want them to forget about me.
And we're in the office every day working. And that is something that I think first year agents or new agents don't really get. They think that things are just going to happen. Deals are going to drop in their lap. Phone's going to ring. And they end up just sitting around. Or they end up trying to work from home, sort of work from home. But we come in, show up every day and do work. So that's what it is now from when we started.
And Matt, some people think showing up every day doing work means looking at houses, looking that. We show up every day. We have discussions on how to run our business. What is a good marketing plan? What is a good marketing plan for a listing coming up? Because everything's different, right?
What's working, what's not.
Yeah, every listing's different because you have different people living in that house. They have different ideas of how quick they want to sell. So you actually have to have those discussions daily because every day you're on the market is another day that it's extended out there and someone thinks there's something wrong with that house.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're not in the office, you need to be talking real estate outside the office.
Well, yeah, you go ride horses every morning,
Absolutely.
Right? And then
everybody I talk to, they know what I do, and there's always an opportunity to talk real estate because there's always a need, whether it be this year, next year, or 4 or 5 years down the line. It's we said it before. It's about relationships.
Correct.
Relationships is the key. What's the next one? Bring it. Bring some heat.
What advice would you have for people just getting into real estate? Where should they start?
Save a lot of money.
Yeah, I think you need to have some financial backing to get going. I think that if you come in and you're not financially ready to work to build those relationships and not necessarily make money right away, I think you're going to find yourself in trouble. You're going to need to get back out there and probably get another job. And then you're a part-time agent again. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So I had no choice. I quit being a plumber and I just dove in. I didn't give myself a choice. I'm either going to make it or I'm not. And I depended on my own drive, my own direction, with some direction of a mentor, of course. But if I didn't have the energy to get myself out there, to do open houses, to put myself in uncomfortable positions, to be able to learn how to talk to people face to face, if I didn't have that ability, or I couldn't obtain that ability, then I would have not had a fighting chance. Steve, what you think?
Well, I refer back to what Kelly said. You come out of real estate school and you know how to pass the test, but like anything else, there's the way that you're taught to do things, and then there's the real world. And
right.
Then you come out into the real world and you see, oh, I got lots to learn. And
you have to find your lane, I think. Yeah. If everybody's coming out of school and they've been taught the same thing, everybody's been taught the same thing, everybody's going to be doing the same thing. You got to find something that you can excel at, I think, or like you with horse properties, something you know.
Yes.
So it's something that you can actually share a lot of information with somebody else. You have something that connects you to potential clients that way. I think that if everybody came out and they were doing the same thing, why would they hire you versus somebody else?
Well,
so
and
you have to find your thing.
And that's why we were trying to direct Steve to first responders, right? Because that's the world he came from. He can probably speak to those folks a lot better than I ever could. And if that's a connection to make a relationship, that is your first step into real estate. 100%. Can make those connections, make a commitment to yourself, and make a commitment to building relationships.
And find common ground with people, and you're going to have something already to talk about. So I think that it's finding where you are comfortable enough to build a business in, and then attacking that every single day in order to be successful at it.
Right. All right, what do you got? What's next?
What's your favorite house you've ever sold?
Well, I have a pretty cool Barnuminium up for sale right now. That's pretty awesome. But I think I'm an older house guy, so anything down and around by the U of A. Tucson used to be a railroad town, and if you see two doors right next to each other downtown, what that means is it was a railroad rental. In other words, when someone that came in and rode the railroad, the homeowner, the way they subsidize their income is they would rent out that room with that one door. And so there's so many of those, and they're so neat. The molding's awesome. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a very big house for me. It just has to be something. I like history, and I think something where you could feel the history when you walk in.
I think that's the same. I had clients that were looking in the U of A area, and we looked for about a year, and I was so sad when they finally bought a house that was not even in the area, but we looked at so many cool historical houses, and I think in that area, the preserved houses with the older trim and the preserved structures. Yeah.
What you got next?
What's been your worst home buying or selling experience?
Sight unseen.
Sight unseen?
That's I always get cold chills when I get sight unseen.
Okay, so is it miserable for you or is it miserable for your client? It's
more probably miserable for me because it puts a lot of strain when your client's not there and present. What are they going to think? You know, you can give as many disclosures as you can until they're on property and they're in that space. Are they going to love it? And I've been in that situation where we closed, they're in the space, and they didn't love it as much as they thought they were going to love it.
So how do you combat that? What do you do to prevent that? What is the most you can do if someone's buying, let's just say overseas because they're a military family, right? and they're transferring here and they don't want to be homeless when they get here. How do you put some reassurances and help yourself so they do love it? What are some of the things you think they could do?
Video walkthroughs was a big thing, as you know, explaining and describing it as much as possible, getting to know them and what is important to them in the house.
Yeah.
Little did I know what they were sad about was there wasn't enough cabinet space in the bathroom pantry. That was the saddest thing that came down, but they were very sad about
And
it.
you did pretty good, right? So,
Yeah,
so I've done
exactly.
it a couple times. One time I had somebody buy a house from Italy.
Yeah.
She was moving back to the States. The Air Force transferred her home, and she had 4 kids, and she didn't want to come to a house she didn't want to come place without being, she didn't want to be homeless, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So what we did is we used a cool service that we had Matterport? Mm-hmm. We had a Matterport done at the house so they could walk through and see everything. We did videos of the house. And then we found a relative and a friend that lived here who knew them well. They walked through the house together and talked to them, and they pointed out the negative. I'm notorious for pointing out the negative in every single house, right?
Yes.
It's just the way it goes. You know, people see all the beautiful stuff. They all fall in love with the carpet. They fall in love with the tile. But what they forget to oversee is the big crack in the wall. Mm-hmm. You know, they get blinders on. And that's why sometimes flips have success, because they're going in there replacing all the pretty stuff, and people fall in love with the pretty stuff. But that's
not knowing what's under all that pretty stuff. That's the scary thing sometimes about flipped houses.
So the other person you can lean on more so than yourself as an agent is that home inspector.
Oh, very important. Yeah.
Let them talk to the home inspector. We talked last week that you have no business in that inspection. Let that home inspector talk to your client. That is their client as well, as many times as they want. If your client calls you and says, hey, what's this mean in the home inspection? Your answer needs to be, I don't know, call the home inspector. That's their job. Right. The minute you give your opinion, you've stepped out of line. What else you got?
I'm looking to buy my first home. What's your best piece of advice?
Get pre-approved by a lender would be number one, I think.
Number one, 100%. Hire Smith & Bollinger to represent you.
Yep, number two.
Okay, I would if I was me. Okay.
and I would if I was me.
Yeah. How about you guys? What should be the number one thing a newbie, a brand new buyer?
Absolutely agreed.
Yeah.
You get pre-approved first to see where you stand.
Yeah, they know they know what their limits are, right? Not only does it give us permission to go buy a house, but it also tells us what our limitations are. So if they've got money saved, they got great credit, they've got a good job, and they qualify for $500,000 purchase, okay, that's one thing. So now we know where to shop. Or in lieu of somebody who hasn't gotten self pre-qualified, then what happens there is they go out and find a house, fall in love, and if we connect them with a lender at that time,
they find out they can't buy that house.
they find they can't buy that house, and now they're crushed. And guess whose fault it is? It's mine. Why? Because I put them in that position. And if you put them in a position to shop out of their price range and don't get them pre-qualified, that is on you because you didn't do your job by setting them up correctly.
I agree.
Okay.
Walk me through the steps of buying a home from start to finish.
Step one, sit down with a real estate agent and interview them. You do not have to use the first one you come across into an open house, even if it's the house you want. Because remember, most likely that person in the open house also works for the seller. Okay. Number two, you're going to need to sit down and discuss a buyer broker right now. That's something that's new and required from this point on. You get your agent, discuss a buyer broker. 3, make sure you talk to that agent on how to get out of that buyer broker because you're going to have to spend some time with this person. And if you don't like this person, you're stuck with them for 45 days or whatever it is through this process. Okay, so ask questions, and ask questions. Everybody agree on that one?
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Oh, and then once you pre-qualified, once you find the right agent, because the right agent is important, okay, then you're going to go find homes. Now, here's the tip of the week, probably of the year. Don't, just because you're qualified for $500,000, don't shop up to $500,000.
You do not have to, no. That's just what you qualify for based on your income. Does not mean that that's what you have to spend. Most people want to shop at the top of their budget, and that is not always the best way to go.
It leaves us no room for negotiations. It does nothing. Okay. And it puts us in a really bad position. But listen, if you want to buy a $500,000 house, I will probably say, listen, we don't have to spend this much money to find this house. Are you sure this is where you want to be? Because if you give me a budget, I'm not going $1 over it.
Well, and I think they also need to take into account, like all of us do, that you don't want to be house poor.
Right.
You don't
Yeah, we
wanna-
talked about that on previous episodes.
Yeah.
That is devastating to the whole experience, but you don't want to not be able to have a life because you
Or a couch.
have a hard time because you have a hard time affording the mortgage.
And that takes place
Where's the joy in that? It doesn't happen.
That takes place in a conversation you're having with your agent. What's your lifestyle like? Tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you like to do?
Right.
Okay, you set aside money for that. Well, what's that look like? What type of house do you need? You got 14 dogs?
Right.
Let's talk about where you want to live, So
Talk about where you can live. if
where
you
you
have 14
can live,
dogs, yeah.
exactly.
Well, I asked the
exactly.
question, do you want a 67 El Camino set up on blocks?
Exactly.
Out in front of your house. I mean, if
Exactly.
there's people that my father would have a car out on blocks every private month if we could. But if he wants an HOA, he can't have that, right? So we have to have that conversation. And those are the conversations and agents that we should have prior to even stepping foot out into someone's
I
house.
highly recommend anybody that wants to start looking at homes, sit down with an agent first before you say, hey, I like this house. Can you come show me this house? If you're serious about looking for houses, go sit down with an agent.
Well, and
Let
now
them-
with the new changes
Yes.
in the way that things are going, I think you're going to see that a lot more in terms
Right.
of having to go through the buyer broker situation that John was talking about and the changes that are made there. Because they're going to have to sign something in order for you to be able to go out and show them as a realtor, you're going to have an opportunity to have those conversations now instead of somebody standing in front of it, making a phone call to you going, hey, can you come out here and show me this house right now?
Right.
That's going to be a thing of the past for the most part. And unless you already have had that conversation with somebody that's standing out in front of a house that wants to go see it, you're going to need to meet with an agent first and go over that. And you can have those conversations that you were talking about, Kelly.
Yeah. And I've heard people say before to me, oh, I don't want to waste your time, but I'd really like to see this house. Listen, I want to see houses. If this house isn't right for you, it might be something for my other 10 clients I've got down the road. We like to go into houses. Also, we like to ask clients, and tell me if you agree or disagree. We like to ask clients, do you like this sink? Because if that sink is what you're looking for, that type of kitchen is what you're looking for, now it may not be here, but it may be at the next one or the next one we see.
File it away.
File it away.
Right.
So every opportunity, the more houses we can see, the better chances we're going to help you find it. But the reality of all the house hunting is probably the consumer is going to find the house. Okay. Just because the internet is out there and there's so many options to go look for houses. Pictures are important because that's what sells houses nowadays.
Although that can also have the opposite effect, I think, sometimes. You get a client that has seen the pictures on the internet or something, and then they go and there's...
That they took with a flip phone.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's pro tip number one. If your agent pulls out a phone and starts photographing your house, time to find a different agent.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
It's first impression.
Yes.
That's what that becomes on your online presence, your marketing presence. If it's toilet seats are up and, all the stuff that you don't want to see in photographs.
I love bad photos. You want to know why I love bad photos? Because those are sometimes diamonds in the rough. The photos look bad, but you take them there anyway, and all of a sudden it's an amazing house, and nobody's going to look because the photos are bad.
Right.
So I strongly encourage even bad photos. Let's put feet on the ground. Let's get them in there, and they're going to go, why are you taking me this one? I don't like the photos. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, the photos look nothing like the house.
Right.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've got the house at a lower price because everybody else is ignoring it because of the photos.
That's why getting out ahead of time and doing previews on properties is important too. Then that's a great house, even though it doesn't present well in marketing. You know already that this might be a good fit for that client.
Yeah, Steve does that weekly.
That's what I was going to say. I'm doing that a lot as a new agent. I go out and look at a lot of places.
Well, that's an agent doing their job too, right?
Exactly.
Look at that. Moose ears. What's that? I don't know.
That's an agent doing their job. Like, I'm going to send you some listings. You tell me what you want to see. What agents need to have feet on the ground too, and go look at these houses.
Agreed.
Preview.
Know your clients.
Yeah.
Okay. It could be a perfect house, but there could be a Dunkin' Donuts right behind it, or a strip bar, or
et cetera, et cetera.
That might be the perfect house for some of the clients.
I got 3 clients that would fit. If y'all got any of that, I got 3 right now. Strip
Bars and Dunkin' Donuts.
I had a listing behind the boat. The guy that bought it loved it.
Just saying.
All right, what do you got next, sir?
What should my first step be when looking to buy a home?
Well, the first person I think they should reach out to would be Smith and Bollinger, because we would be able, and I don't want to turn this into a commercial, but but we have some lenders we've had success with in the past that we'd be more than happy to connect. But let me throw a flag about lenders, guys. Is a lender somebody that you have to click with as well?
Yes.
Does personalities not have to click? So should they get more than one lender recommendation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why?
You do need to click with your lender. And being the source of the source, don't take my word for it. Please go shop.
You can shop the costs too. So
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
if the one that maybe came in a little bit higher in cost, but that's the person that you get along with better personality wise, take those other fees and take them to the person you like and say, hey, I'd love to work with you, but only if you can match this. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be able to.
How do I know when it's the right time to stop renting and look for my first house?
As soon as they stop waking up with Cheerios stuck to their forehead.
I don't get it.
How do you follow that?
No. It all depends on the individuals. I know 20-year-old people that own a house, so age has nothing to do with it. Okay, but it also is a commitment, right? And I don't want to say immature people can't buy a house because Matt owns a house or 2. Okay, but what I can say is people know when they're ready. A lot of times it's based on their current living situation, and they just want to move on and they want to start their life as a individual inside their own house, right? But
Lifestyle.
They want to stop paying somebody else, and they want to start at least having some of that payment go towards, principal on something they own. I think it goes back to personal goals financially. I think what you'll find is that when markets are really hot, it tends to be because mortgage payments are relatively close to rent payments. And I think that when that happens, then you see a lot of activity in the market. When rents are significantly lower than mortgage payments, then that has to be a conversation that somebody has, amongst themselves and with their families about, is that a risk that they're willing to take at that point financially? And I think that a lot of times it's probably not, to be perfectly honest with you, the best time to go out and buy a house if they're paying rent and it's $800 more to get a mortgage. It depends on their own personal situation, their own personal goals. It's a really hard question to answer, I think.
okay, but my Cheerio analogy is good, right? College days, you wake up, Cheerio stuck to your face. That's probably not the time to start. Okay, I want to explain this a little bit. Cheerio stuck to your face.
I got what you were saying.
Beer can crushed on your head the night before, so you still have the ring around it. Okay, that's probably not the best time to buy a house.
You're probably going to miss a mortgage payment.
Right? Because your priorities are different, right?
I smell what you're stepping in.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm stepping in. I got to fix it here. Right? Because obviously I've been the guy with the ring around his head and the Cheerios stuck to his face. But I
Let's be
think it comes to a
truthful, haven't we
point.
all?
I don't want to use the word grown up because I know some people that probably shouldn't own a house, but they do, and they do very well at it.
When you're ready to take on the responsibility of home ownership and you understand the responsibilities of home ownership, that's the time.
Because like we
that's
said
the mother
before,
coming out in her.
what we said before in a previous episode also was, it's not just the mortgage payment, it's the maintenance, it's all the other
Correct.
stuff. It's the utility bills that maybe were covered in your rent. It's all of those things. You got to sit down, like we've said before, and put pen to paper and say, is this the right thing for me now? And I think that some people do that and they go, nope, it's not the right time. Some people do it and go, yep, we can pull the trigger on
Exactly.
this. and make it
Cheerio
happen.
dude's not going to pull that together.
No, probably not.
Okay, he's waiting for the buffet to open down there. So we can go have a drink at the buffet or the shanty. You know what I'm saying?
Cheerio,
All right.
dude.
Cheerio dude. What's next?
If you have any questions about today's show, feel free to reach out to us directly at Smith & Bollinger at longrealty.com. And always remember, we're here for you for all your real estate needs. Whether it's residential, commercial, investment, or land, we got you covered.
Hey, welcome back to Real Estate Rumble with John and Matt. Again, we're here with our guests who happens to be our team members. We've got Steve, we've got Kelly, and of course, we've got Matt.
Yes, we do.
Okay, fair enough. Again, Steve is our senior specialist and first responder specialist. Kelly is our, just general great agent. Plus, she does horse property. Okay.
I do.
So welcome back. We're still doing questions from viewers who sent these in. So why don't you go ahead and shoot us another question?
I'm looking to buy a home. What part of the house can cost me the most in the long run if I'm not careful?
One word answer.
Roof.
That would have been my answer.
AC system.
I got you all beat. The toilet. That could cause you the number one most expensive thing. Why? Because it's underground, under slab, and it goes out to a street that you may have to pay to cut into.
Good point.
That's true.
So that would be the whole plumbing system.
Probably the most expensive, just not necessarily the most common high ticket item.
Not the most glamorous.
Well, it's either you give or take.
Fair enough. That's the answer the plumber would give.
Yes, give or take. You know?
It's going to be the toilet for
It's
sure.
the mechanic. So let's go back to being serious.
It's
okay?
not where you spend the most time, John. It's what's the most expensive.
Man, that's where I get my reading in.
It's
So here's the real truth, okay? Not that any of those are not important, but Matt and I always say the mechanicals are the most important part of the house, okay? The water heater, the air conditioning, the roof is a mechanical,
Yeah,
okay?
the system stuff.
The systems, anything system-wise, that's what you should really, really concentrate on because that's where your money's going to need to be spent. Agree?
Which is, again,
Absolutely.
back to the home inspection or roof inspection or whatever inspection. That is where you're going to catch that ahead of time, and you're not going to end up getting caught later spending $15,000 for a new tile roof.
Correct, 100%. What about, are you worried about the horse stable that doesn't have water to it yet?
Sure.
You would be concerned about that?
Absolutely. I mean, and again, it goes back to what are you looking at? Are you looking at like you're going to have 2 horses on property? It's just for a hobby, or is it going to be a commercial type facility? So
2 horses on property is a commercial responsibility to me, that price.
really,
I would think that when you're talking about not just water to facilities, but I would say on a horse property or any large, I would say the well also is another
Absolutely.
one.
Access to
So
water.
another system, but
Okay.
a well can be really, really expensive. So you have those inspected as well.
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 All right, next question.
I would like to buy a home, but I need to rebuild my credit score. Where should I start?
Yes, you can have lenders sometimes will help. You just don't want to have somebody who charges you to help improve your credit. That a lot of them will do a free program. So I think that there's that available to people, but at the same time, with a score that's not quite 700, you can still get a loan. What you run into sometimes is that if you're getting
the 600s, right?
if you're getting a conventional loan, the rate will be a little bit higher if your credit score is not above 720 and then again above 760, I think it is. But you can definitely get an FHA loan, and typically the rate on an FHA loan is lower than a 30-year conventional loan.
Okay.
Because there's fees and costs up front.
I want to put it out there, right? If you think that you want to buy a house and you think that you can't buy a house or you need direction to buy a house, come see us. Okay, and I know this isn't supposed to be a commercial, but come see us. I have actually got lenders that will actually work with you, help you get your credit score in order. They will stand there.
And they'll
their
do it
answer-
for free.
And their answer is not, it is never no, it's always when. In other words, if you're willing to put the work in and you're willing to set a goal and you're willing to do what it takes, to get some bills paid off, get your credit score back to where to go, the lender will stand by you. Matt and I will stand by you. It's through the whole process. I don't care how long it takes. Everybody deserves the right to home ownership, and everyone deserves the right to representation. So that's the best thing about when Matt and I teamed up. We don't care what the price point is. You're going to get great service, okay? So I actually have a lender that will work with you one-on-one. They'll put a plan together, and as long as you stick with that plan and you stick with us, because we're going to check with you. We're going to check in on you and see that you're staying with that plan. You soon can be a homeowner.
If you're willing to put in the time and the work and do the things that the lender tells you need to do, we can get it done.
I've had people that had, I've said this before on this show, I've had people with $30,000 in the bank, a 700 plus credit score, and they came in looking for a rent to own.
I have a credit score of 670. Where should I start if I want to purchase a home?
you definitely want to get with the lender because they're going to sit down with you and show you different scenarios of what that's going to look like and what that's going to look like out of pocket. If you want to, bring your credit score up, what that's going to look like with a down payment and how to correct that that credit score. So definitely you're going to want to get with a lender.
But you can still, with that credit score, get a loan.
Absolutely.
It'll likely be an FHA loan at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And there's different, and with the FHA loan, there is a, FHA loan, a conventional, there's different options and they all look different. So you definitely want to get with a lender to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm not a lender. You do not want me to tell you got a loan or not, because chances are I'll be totally wrong. That's not my area of expertise. We need to stay in our lanes, right? So if we always say, no, can't answer that. Well, there's reasons, because I'm not an expert in that area. You want a lender who's actually licensed and everything to tell you interpret your credit score and see how it applies to your current situation.
And we can give you the contacts to be able to discuss that with a lender.
What are some interesting niches inside of real estate?
Horse property is a niche. And why is it a niche? Because Arizona has tons of horses, doesn't it, Kelly?
They do, yes. Horse property is a niche. And it gets really tricky when you talk about horse property and horse people. And I know I go off on a tangent and what's needed with horse property.
We could be here for 10 days.
We will be here forever. So come talk to me about that.
There's commercial.
There's commercial, there's hobby horse property, because literally, I'm from Georgia
Okay,
originally.
I got to ask. Time out. Hold on.
Okay.
Hobby horse property.
Yeah,
Like
not
the
that
little-
kind of
like the
hobby
little
horsing.
wooden ones?
Time out. That's a new thing. I'm not talking about a horse's head on a stick that you're gonna. No, not that kind of. I'm talking about somebody that rides horses just for their own convenience. They have one horse, they take it out for a trail ride, or they have like boarding facilities, or they have training facilities. That's totally different type of property that's needed. So it depends on what the need of the horse owner is.
Don't you think it's funny? She knew exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's a thing. Please.
All
I'm
right, what
telling you,
other
if it's
niche,
in the
Matt?
next Olympics, I'm done.
Well, like we said, commercial, I think, there's historic properties, significant architects, things like that.
Historical homes, right?
Correct. Yeah.
right,
Vacant lots. That's
Land is another niche,
Yeah.
right?
What's the biggest difference in selling commercial property versus residential?
There's no emotions in commercial property. It all comes down to the numbers.
Correct.
If the numbers don't make sense, people
move
don't
on.
invest their money.
Yep. They move on.
They move on.
Find one that does.
And it's got to be right there. And literally, I've seen people go almost to the end. If financial numbers barely made sense and they just said, you know what, this doesn't financially make sense. There's no tears, there's no emotions. They just move on to the next property.
Correct.
When I go buy, even when I buy my own house, right? Wife falls in love with the kitchen. I see the garage, got 3-car garage, epoxy floors. And then I leave there thinking about that house. If you're in a commercial property, you leave there thinking about, is this going to make me money now and in the future? Would you agree, Matt?
I would agree. I think that's perfectly described as to how people think about it.
Damn, you're a pretty good trainer.
I know. It's the emotional side of it where you go in, like John said, and you fall in love with the property is really not there. I mean, it can be great for your business, but again, if the numbers don't work, they move on.
So you could be property broke on a commercial.
Oh, you could be, but it doesn't happen very often because people know the numbers. They know what their business generates. They know, how much they can spend on costs for their business and where that property is, what it generates, et cetera. And they already know what that is. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
So the financials was the number one step, no matter where you're at, whether it's residential or commercial. Would you suggest, once again, if it was commercial, to make sure you know your numbers and to make sure you know your capabilities, and that includes your budget?
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things that commercial buyers typically already know. They know what they're looking at. They know how that fits into their formula. And so they just move on like a professional. And that's how they do it. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's no other way to look at it with those kind of buyers. They already know. So it's a different transaction for sure.
Historically, real estate has been the number one wealth builder in the United States. Do you think this trend will continue?
Wow, that's not a softball. You're supposed to be a little nicer to us. I think it's a great place to invest your money. Okay, remember, you don't lose money unless you sell your house, no matter if the market's down. And if the market's up and you make the decision to sell then, depending on where you bought at, yes, that's the answer. But currently right now, some people are pretty much being held hostage in their home because they have such great interest rates, whether they like it or not.
But they're also sitting on big pile of equity in a lot of cases. So I think that that's a tough question.
He refused to ask it last time.
I know.
Answer it.
I did. But I think that I would still tell somebody that even if real estate's the thing that generates the most wealth, that I would say that diversification is really important.
Right. Don't dump it all in one.
No.
Yeah. What do you got now?
What is your elevator pitch for someone who's looking to relocate to Arizona?
I usually start off with, how you doing?
That's a terrible elevator pitch.
Tucson speaks for itself. I mean, even though Family Guy gives it the little bad rep.
Aloha.
Tucson speaks for itself. We have a lot here, right? We have year-round hiking. Yes, it's hot during certain months, but I think that's something you can get used to. We have Mount Lemmon. We have lakes nearby. We can explore. The Grand Canyon's not too far. San Diego's 6 hours away from here. I mean, there are so many things you can do as Tucson being your hub. You could even go snow skiing in Flagstaff, right?
And I think comparatively, it's still very, very affordable compared to a lot of other places. So I think that that's something that would be a big consideration for somebody as well. There are we have this, like the places that you mentioned, a lot of similarities in terms of weather and things like that people think are really, really important. So we have, great winters, great fall, spring. Summer is
Isn't there a
really,
country
really
song
hot.
like that? Winter, spring,
But
summer.
I think
fall?
that
Something like that.
Tucson also has that affordability piece. The location, like John said, is great too. I mean, we can be in so many different places. You can be in Mexico. You can be in San Diego. I mean, there's just a lot to offer regionally also.
Yeah, that's my pitch, Matt.
What's your why? I mean, I'm from Georgia, like I said originally. What's your why, and where's your heart? I mean, I moved here almost 11 years ago and put down roots. I have grandbabies here now, and there's no looking back. This is my home, and I'd never move back. So
That is a great elevator pitch.
there you go. Where's your heart?
Lastly, what advice would you give someone looking to start their own business?
Real estate is your own business. You're all subcontractors for a broker, okay? But you have to treat it like a business. When you say, Matt, you have to. He said it 100 times if he said it 1,000. Show up to work. Work on your business every single day. It is so easy to wake up with Kellogg's Corn Flakes and Fruit Loops on your head, okay, and not do anything and just watch Netflix and wait for grandma across the street to pass so you can sell her house, when chances are you're not going to get that chance because they don't know that you're an agent. So if you don't show up every single day and put yourself in front of people and build relationships every single day, Steve, it's not going to happen.
There's a lot of different ways to build a business, I think, in real estate. You just have to kind of find the one that you feel the most comfortable with. So it could be, like I have played tennis with the same guys forever and ever and ever. I've done business with a lot of those people. So I think that, you could play golf with people, and it could be anything. It doesn't have to be, cold calling. That's never been my thing.
Well, here's
So
an example.
It's just relationships.
What's your hobby?
Again.
Horses.
Okay, gee, her hobby's horses. So why do you think she sells horse properties? Because she knows horse properties. She has the knowledge for that. She knows what's required. Steve, what's your hobby? Whatever your wife tells you to do.
Exactly. Whatever she chooses for the day. Yeah. No, I mean, I go to the gym and I play bad golf.
Building a referral business is the most
exactly.
sustainable business that you can build.
Yes.
It takes a lot more time, but it is the way to go for sure.
You know why I'm friends with all the real estate agents? Because sooner or later, some of them are going to drop out of the business and I'm going to be their agent because they know I'm a really good agent. I hate to put it that way, but it's true. Okay. It's all based on relationships. I don't care. You could send out 1 million postcards, but unless you continue to sell out 1 million postcards, you're not going to be first in mind when it comes. Okay. We all know how to do the same exact stuff. We all taught the same exact stuff. It's the people that putting that stuff in action that's going to work.
And the people that are most consistent with it.
Yeah, and you got to care about the service you provide too.
You got to care.
100%.
That is 100% true.
Well, I know with my wife and I, the agent who's we bought and sold with like 2 or 3 times
Was not Smith and
over the
Bollinger.
years. We will always remember that.
How many times do you buy with the same agent?
3 or 4.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome.
That's
That says
because
a
we
lot.
remembered that she treated us well,
Okay.
and she had our best interest, and she
She was honest. She was fair.
Yeah.
She educated you. Because
Yeah.
see, I believe my position and anybody coming in, I asked the question, are you a salesperson or are you an educator? In my eyes, you darn well better be an educator in this business, because if not, then your client is not walking out educated and knowing as much as they can know about the transaction, and they are not sure if you did a good job.
About the market. You have to be educated about the market as well, not just about the transaction. So it's everything, but you're still educating in that case.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're building your reputation, and which builds your network.
Correct.
We all met Dustin, who was my first client. He still refers me some properties. Refers me a client every year, whether it's a manufactured home out in the middle of nowhere or they're looking for a place to build a dog shelter. He finds a way to refer me because he trusts me. Okay, that'll be all the questions. We appreciate you listening. Hey, we have a new Facebook page. We'd love for you to go on there. You can see all of our content and some behind the scenes content's coming soon. So we look forward to hearing from you, and reach out to us if you have any questions. Hey guys, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Real Estate Rumble. It is proudly produced and edited by Unestablished Media. If you're looking to start your own podcast or in need of social media services, design work, or even website creation, check out our website at unestablishedmedia.com. Thanks.